The warning. The Xalinary battleship drifted through the cold emptiness of space, its sleek black hull reflecting the distant glow of a dying star. Inside the command center, Captain Virik stood tall, his reptilian eyes scanning the endless void. It was supposed to be a routine patrol. The Xalinary Empire ruled this sector, and no one, especially not the weak species, dared to challenge them. A low hum echoed through the ship as a young officer, Lieutenant Sorik, studied the sensor readings. His sharp claws tapped against the control panel. "Captain," Sorik said, his voice tense. "Our long-range scanners just picked up something unusual." Virik narrowed his eyes. "Unusual? Define it." Sorik hesitated. "An unidentified fleet just entered our sector, but there was no hyperspace disturbance. They didn't warp in." Virik frowned. That was impossible. Ships couldn't just appear in deep space. "Are they broadcasting any signals?" "No, sir. They're completely silent. No radio waves, no identification codes. But they're moving fast, directly toward us." The command center grew eerily quiet. Every officer on the deck turned their attention to the main screen. The scanners displayed a cluster of fast-moving objects, heading straight for the Xalinary warship. Virik clenched his jaw. "Magnify the image." The screen flickered, adjusting the resolution. The cold chill ran through the crew as the shapes became clear, sleek, angular vessels, their dark surfaces blending with space. The signature was unmistakable. Human warships. A murmur spread through the crew. The Xalinary had encountered humans before, but they were not considered a true threat. They were a young species, ambitious but reckless. Their fleets were small, their numbers few. And yet, something about this situation felt wrong. How did they get this close without detection? One officer whispered. Virik's claws dug into the armrest of his chair. "Increase scanner range. I want to know the exact number of ships." Sorik's fingers moved swiftly over the controls. A moment later, the results appeared. His expression turned pale. "Sir," he swallowed hard. "There's more than we thought. At least 12 human warships. And what?" Virik's patience was running thin. Sorik looked up, fear in his yellow eyes. "They're already within weapons range." Virik shot up from his chair. "Impossible. Our defense grid should have detected them long before they got this close." But the truth was staring them in the face. The humans had evaded all their early warning systems, moved through heavily patrolled space, and were now positioned for an attack. A sharp alarm rang across the ship. "Threat detected. Incoming transmission." The crew braced themselves as the main screen flickered to life. A figure appeared. A human captain, standing in a dimly lit control room. His expression was calm, almost cold. "A Xalinary warship," the human's voice was steady. "You are trespassing in restricted space. Lower your shields and power down your weapons." The bridge fell into stunned silence. Restricted space. This was Xalinary territory. Virik growled. "How dare they issue us orders?" His claws scraped against the metal panel. "Open a channel." Sorik hesitated but followed orders. The moment the connection was established, Virik stepped forward. "This is Captain Virik of the Xalinary Empire," he said, his voice dripping with authority. "You are the ones who have entered our space without clearance. Identify yourselves or be destroyed." The human remained unfazed. He leaned forward slightly, his piercing blue eyes locking onto Virik's. "We already identified ourselves." His voice was calm, almost too calm. "We are the last warning you will receive." The transmission cut out. An eerie silence settled over the command center. Virik's throat tightened. He had dealt with many species before, some strong, some weak. But there was something about this moment that made his scales itch. Something was wrong. "Raise shields," he barked. "Charge weapons. If they want to fight, we will show them the might of the Xalinary." His officers scrambled to follow orders. The ship's hull vibrated as the shields activated, and plasma cannons powered up. The battle was about to begin. And yet, deep inside, a small voice whispered in Virek's mind, "You are already too late." The trap. The tension on the Salinary warship was suffocating. Red warning lights pulsed across the bridge, casting long shadows on the faces of the crew. 12 human warships, moving in silence, weapons hot. Captain Virek had faced countless battles, but something about this one felt wrong. "All weapons ready, sir," Lieutenant Sorek reported, his voice shaky. Virek straightened his posture. "Target their lead vessel. Fire." The Exalinary ship roared as plasma cannons unleashed their fury, streaks of violet energy cutting through the darkness of space. The shots raced toward the human flagship, but just before impact, the ship twisted sharply, dodging every blast with impossible precision. The bridge fell into stunned silence. They anticipated our attack. Virek growled, "Fire again." More plasma bolts rained toward the human fleet. This time, the entire formation scattered, moving like a pack of predators, weaving through the void with eerie coordination. They didn't just evade the attack. They made it look easy. "Captain," Sorek's voice trembled, "this isn't normal. They're moving in complete synchronization. No lag, no delay." Virek clenched his jaw. Salinary warships were built for raw power, but these humans, they fought like ghosts in the dark. Then, without warning, the human fleet opened fire. Blue streaks of energy erupted from their ships, slicing through the void with pinpoint accuracy. "Incoming," someone shouted. The exalinary shields flared as the first barrage struck, rocking the entire ship. Sparks burst from control panels, sending officers scrambling. "Damage report," Virek barked. Sorek's hands flew over the console, shields at 60% and falling fast. Virek's mind raced. How were human weapons this effective? They weren't just hitting at random. They were targeting critical systems, disabling weapons, overloading shields. This wasn't just an attack. It was a trap. Virek's eyes widened. Full retreat. Now. But before the order could be carried out, the ship lurched violently. A new alarm blared across the bridge. "Captain," another officer gasped. "Something is disrupting our thrusters. We can't move." The view screen flickered, revealing an even worse nightmare. Black, shadow-like objects clamped onto the hull. Boarding pods. The humans weren't just attacking from the outside. They were coming inside. Virek's blood turned to ice. The Salinary were proud warriors, but this was a level of warfare they had never encountered before. The realization hit like a dagger. The humans had never intended to destroy them from a distance. They wanted to take the ship from within. The lights flickered. The air became heavy. Then, somewhere deep in the corridors of the warship, a door hissed open, and the humans stepped inside. The silent storm. The warship's metal corridors were deathly silent. The only sounds were the distant hum of failing power systems and the flickering of emergency lights. Captain Virek stood rigid, his reptilian eyes locked on the security monitors. What he saw sent a chill down his spine. The humans were inside. They moved like shadows, silent, precise, unstoppable. A squad of black-armored soldiers advanced through the corridors. They didn't stomp like the Salinary warriors, nor did they shout commands. They communicated with gestures, barely making a sound. Their weapons were compact, sleek, and, Virek noted with growing unease, strangely quiet. "Sorek," Virek growled, "lock down the lower decks. Seal every bulkhead." Sorek's claws danced over the controls. "Already done, sir." On the screen, the first wave of Salinary defenders rushed forward. Plasma rifles charged. They were larger, stronger, trained for brutal combat. But the moment they fired, the humans vanished. Their movements were impossibly fast. They darted into the shadows, using the environment to their advantage. Salinary plasma bolts scorched the walls, but they hit nothing. Then, Chaos. A human dropped from the ceiling, landing behind that Salinary squad. In one smooth motion, he fired, not plasma, but something deadlier. The lead Salinary collapsed instantly, his body limp before he even realized he was shot. No screams, no blood, just silence. Vyric's claws tightened on the armrest. "What kind of weapons are those?" he muttered. Sorik's eyes were wide. "They don't use plasma. Their guns are kinetic. They fire solid projectiles." Vyric turned to him sharply. "Primitive." Sorik swallowed. "No, sir. Efficient. Plasma can be absorbed by shields. But these go right through armor." Vyric's stomach twisted. He watched as more humans emerged, taking out his warriors with unnerving precision. They weren't just winning. They were hunting. "Captain," an officer stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. I think they can see in the dark." Vyric turned his head sharply. "What?" The officer pointed to the security footage. The humans had shut down the lights, turning the corridor into pitch-black darkness. Yet they moved effortlessly. Salinary warriors stumbled blindly, their night vision useless against the advanced human helmet optics. The humans were built for war. Vyric slammed his fist against the console. "We are not prey," he roared. "Flood the corridors with nerve gas. That will slow them down." Sorik hesitated. "But sir, our own warriors." "Do it." A hiss echoed through the ship as toxic gas spread through the vents. Vyric watched the monitors with narrowed eyes. For a moment, the human soldiers stopped moving. Vyric's mouth curled into a grin. But then, something unexpected happened. The humans reached to their belts, pulled out small devices, and pressed them against their helmets. Rebreathers. The gas had no effect. The breaking point. The air inside the warship was thick with tension. The Salinary warriors had fought countless battles, but never like this. Captain Vyric's claws gripped the armrest of his command chair. The security monitors flickered, showing only fragmented glimpses of the enemy. The humans moved like ghosts, here one moment, gone the next. The gas had failed. The lockdown had failed. And now, the humans were closing in on the bridge. Vyric turned to his officers, his voice a low growl. "How many of our warriors remain?" Sorik hesitated, his hands trembling over the console. "Less than 20. Sir." Vyric's eyes darkened. They had started with over 100. This wasn't a battle. It was a slaughter. Then, bang. A deep metallic echo rang through the bridge. Everyone froze. Ding. Bang. The sealed blast door dented inward. Something was hitting it. Hard. Vyric felt a cold chill run down his spine. "Reinforce the door," he barked. "Hold the line." Salinary warriors rushed forward, plasma rifles aimed at the entrance. They stood shoulder to shoulder, their breathing heavy. Then, silence. For a moment, there was nothing. No impact. No movement, just the eerie, suffocating quiet of anticipation. Then, boom. The blast door exploded inward, sending debris flying. Smoke filled the air. Red laser sights cut through the haze like predators' eyes. And then, they came. The first human soldier moved like lightning, a blur of black armor and cold precision. His rifle barked once, a single shot. The first Salinary fell, a bullet through his skull. Panic rippled through the defenders. They fired wildly, plasma bolts scorching the air. But the humans were already gone, darting into the shadows. "Fall back." Vyric roared, but it was too late. The humans didn't fight like warriors. They fought like executioners. One by one, the Salinary fell. Some didn't even have time to scream. Vyric's heart pounded. He had seen death before, but never like this. The humans didn't hesitate. They didn't taunt or waste words. They just killed. Sorik stumbled backward, eyes wide with terror. "See, Captain," This isn't a battle. It's an extermination. Virik bared his fangs. Then we make them bleed. He grabbed his plasma blade from his belt, an ancient weapon of his people. Its blue energy hummed as he activated it. A shadow moved to his left. He spun just in time to block a blade slicing toward his throat. The human was fast. Too fast. Their weapons clashed in a shower of sparks. Virik had fought warriors across the galaxy, but this was something else. The human didn't overpower him with brute strength. He outmaneuvered him. Every strike was precise, calculated. Virik felt himself being pushed back, losing ground. The human didn't waste movement. He didn't attack wildly. He was toying with him. Virik's rage flared. With a furious roar, he swung wildly. A mistake. The human dodged effortlessly, then countered. Crack! A brutal punch to Virik's ribs. Slash! A blade cut across his arm. His grip faltered. The human moved in for the kill, then stopped. His head tilted slightly, as if studying Virik. Then, in a cold, calm voice, he spoke. "You're not worth the bullet." Before Virik could react, the human drove his fist into his chest. Pain. Unimaginable pain. His vision blurred. The world spun. He collapsed to his knees. The last thing he saw before darkness took him. The truth revealed. Darkness. Captain Virik's body ached, his senses dull and sluggish. A low hum filled the air, the sound of a warship's systems running on emergency power. His eyelids fluttered open. Blurred lights. Cold steel beneath him. Pain flared in his chest. He tried to move, but something held him down. Restraints. His vision cleared, and he saw them. The humans. They stood like statues, their dark armor barely reflecting the dim lights of the bridge. They had taken everything. His warriors, his ship, his pride. One of them stepped forward, a tall figure in black combat gear, his helmet still on. "You're awake." The voice was calm. Too calm. Virik bared his fangs. "Kill me and be done with it." The human tilted his head slightly. "You think we're here just to kill?" Virik snarled. "You wiped out my crew. You hunted us like vermin. What else would you be here for?" The human leaned closer. The air felt heavier. "If we wanted you dead, Captain, we wouldn't have let you wake up." Virik froze. His mind raced. What did they want? The human motioned to one of his soldiers. A small device was placed on the console in front of Virik. It hummed to life, projecting a holographic star map. The image sent a cold wave of dread through Virik's veins. It was a tactical map, not just of this sector, of the entire Xalanary Empire. Planets, trade routes, military installations, every weakness laid bare. Virik's breathing quickened. "Impossible. How do you have this?" The human didn't blink. "Because we were never your real enemy, Captain." Silence. Virik felt his claws tighten. What game were these creatures playing? The human finally removed his helmet, revealing sharp, calculating eyes. A warrior's gaze, a predator's patience. "You think this war is between your people and mine," the human said, voice like grinding steel. "But the truth is, you've been fighting the wrong war." Virik's mind reeled. "Explain." The human tapped the hologram, zooming in on a distant sector of space. "Your empire is on the edge of something bigger than you understand," he continued. "You think we're the threat. No, we're just the only ones who saw it coming." The hologram shifted, revealing something hidden. A massive structure. Unknown. Alien. A colossal shipyard, bigger than anything that Xalanary had ever built. Not human. Not Xalanary. Something else. Virik's blood ran cold. "What is this?" The human's voice was deadly quiet. "The beginning of the end. To be continued." Cliffhanger. The humans didn't just attack the Xalanary for war. They had a bigger purpose. But what is this mysterious threat? And why did the humans strike first? Do you want the next part to reveal more about this new enemy, or keep the suspense building? You said, continue next part, Mike. ChatGPT said. Part 6. The Hidden Enemy. Captain Virik stared at the colossal shipyard displayed in the hologram. It wasn't Xalaneri. It wasn't human. It was something else. A deep unease settled in his chest. His people never detected this. How had the humans? You're lying, he growled, though the uncertainty in his voice betrayed him. This is some human trick. The human commander simply smirked. Then why is your empire already losing ships near this sector? Virik's eyes narrowed. His claws twitched against the restraints. There had been unexplained disappearances. Patrol fleets vanishing. Colonies on the farthest border silent. At first, the Culinary High Council dismissed them as pirate attacks. Later, they blamed the humans. But what if they were wrong? What are we looking at? Virik finally asked, his voice low, almost reluctant. The human exhaled, tapping the console. The image shifted. A new shape appeared. A ship. But not just any ship. A monster. Twice the size of a Xalaneri dreadnought, its surface was like a black void, no markings, no lights, almost as if it absorbed the very light around it. The moment Virik laid eyes on it, a deep primal instinct screamed within him. This was not a warship. This was a predator. We call them the Vorthai, the human said, his voice losing its usual coldness. We first encountered one of their scouts near a fringe colony. It wiped out 3 of our battleships in minutes. Virik felt his stomach churn, and now? The human's jaw tightened. Now, they'd started building. Virik's mind raced. The Xalaneri Empire believed they were the dominant force in the galaxy. They conquered, they crushed, they ruled. But what if they had never truly been alone? What do you want from me? Virik finally asked. The human leaned forward, his expression deadly serious. We need a warlord. Someone with power in your empire. Someone who can rally your fleets before it's too late. Virik laughed bitterly. You slaughter my crew, steal my ship, and now you expect me to help you. The human shrugged. You think I enjoy working with you. We don't have time for grudges. You want your people to survive, or not. Virik fell silent, because deep down, he already knew the answer. The last choice. Captain Virik stared at the hologram, the monstrous shipyard, and its dark warships burned into his mind. The Vorthai. A name he had never heard, an enemy he had never imagined. Yet, deep in his gut, fear twisted like a blade. Virik prided himself on being a warrior. He had seen fleets burn, planets fall, enemies crushed beneath Xalaneri might. But this was different. The human commander watched him carefully, waiting. You want me to betray my empire, Virik finally said, his voice low. Dangerous. The human didn't flinch. I want you to save it. Virik's claws dug into the armrest. He wanted to reject this, to call it a lie, a deception. But the truth was staring back at him. The missing fleets, the silent colonies, the growing darkness at the edge of the galaxy. If he ignored this, that Xalaneri wouldn't just lose the war against humanity. They would be wiped out. Still, a part of him resisted. Even if I agreed, my people would never trust your kind. The human commander smirked. They don't have to. Virik narrowed his eyes. Explain. The human leaned in, voice calm, measured, deadly. You will escape. Virik felt his breath catch. You will return to your empire. Tell them about this threat, the human continued. Convince them to move their fleets. Prepare for war. Virik's mind raced. And what will you be doing? The human's eyes hardened. Buying you time. Virik felt a chill crawl down his spine. You're planning a suicide mission. The human only smiled. We're planning to slow them down. Call it our final show of goodwill. For a moment, Virik hesitated. He still hated them, still wanted to see their worlds burn. But hatred meant nothing to the dead. And if he refused, if he let his pride blind him, then his empire was already lost. Slowly, he nodded. The human stood up and turned to his soldiers. "Prepare the ship. Make it look like he fought his way out." Virek's lips curled. "You've done this before." The human chuckled. "Once or twice." As the alarms blared and the first controlled explosions shook the ship, Virek moved toward the escape pod. He took one last look at the humans, still standing tall, still defiant, heading toward a battle they knew they wouldn't win. For the first time in his life, Virek respected them. The pod sealed. The countdown began. As he was launched into space, speeding toward his empire, one thought echoed in his mind. The humans weren't his enemies anymore. They were the only reason his people still had a chance.